Hello, my name is Peter Niksaa. I've been working here for 5 weeks in Nepal at Vin, helping the local communities in the Kathmandu region, specifically in Jitpo Phaden. It was a very good experience overall. We had we talked about climate change, particularly with the communities, but we also learned about the issues the communities are facing, particularly in agriculture right now, like the changes in the monsoon, but also a lot of the factors with the monkeys. The biggest issue is the monkeys here, but also some new pests appearing. And there are also fears of dengue and malaria, of tigers, which are more and more coming to the communities. And so we learned a lot about these issues. And of course there are a lot of issues coming in the future with climate change. The communities will definitely also need a lot of support. So Nepal, Kathmandu is a region which is strongly changing, of course, with the time, and the future will also change. So it was very interesting to learn how the people are also living here, but also it was a very great experience with local volunteers, working with them, working together on the posters, but also presenting together with them and learning about all the things, about also the culture here in Nepal. I also had the luck to trek to Everest, to Base Camp, and this was a great experience, seeing a different region of Nepal as well. And it was a great experience also living at the WBC, at the Women's Business Center, with the other volunteers here, and also hearing about their projects and just getting more insight about all the issues the communities are having here. So it was a very interesting experience. Thanks for Vin, thanks for the local communities for this experience, for opportunities. It was a great time.
Okay, that's great. So maybe could you share about your Everest Base Camp experience, maybe a bit?
Yeah, the Everest Base Camp trek was a very great trek. I highly recommend it to many people, of course. So for me personally, the goal wasn't that amazing. It's like the Everest Base Camp itself isn't like, but it was the trekking along the route, meeting all the people that have similar interests like me, that also enjoy trekking, but also meeting the locals there, seeing a very different side of Nepal. It's a harsh and also difficult side. People don't have cars there. There's no transportation. The only transportation other than animals is by helicopters. But this is of course something which only the foreigners are usually affording, or some rich Nepali people can afford. So for many of the locals, it's of course not an option. And so they also have to carry a lot of things themselves, often for many days. And it's interesting to see that, but also it depends very strongly on the tourism. So that's why, of course, I also definitely recommend everyone to go there, not just to see the sites, but also to support the communities there. And it's definitely a very special place. And it has a nature which is in many places still very untouched. There, of course, the paths are often very well constructed, but they're still affected also by disasters. Like last year there was a glacial lake overflow which destroyed a big chunk of the road towards Namche Bazaar and had to be reconstructed. And it was definitely also many great experiences, like seeing the Yetis, the skull, but also seeing a lot of the accomplishments by Edmund Hillary. I've always knew the mountaineering side, but I never knew the humanitarian side of him. So it was great to see that side as well, and the impact on the communities, building the schools there, building the hospitals, building the infrastructure. So not just for mountaineering, but really for people living there. So it was a great experience.
Okay, how was your first, maybe expression when you saw the Mount Everest?
So the first time I saw Mount Everest was at Namche Bazaar, and I was first thing I saw Mount Everest, but then I realized it was a different mountain. So, and then afterwards, at some point, the sky opened at another place, so the clouds lifted, and then there was the peak of Everest, just the peak. You couldn't see the rest of the mountain, just the peak, and I was like, wow. So it was, for me, like this was the first highlight of the entire trip there, like just seeing the peak of a mountain. And I talked with someone who just came back from Everest Base Camp, and she told me she went to Everest Base Camp, but she's never seen Everest because it was always cloudy. And then in this moment, she also saw it for the first time, and it was us sharing that joy with her and some other people which were brave enough to go up there, even though you didn't expect to see anything, because it was a cloudy day. And I think at the time when I went up there, we were only 7 people who saw an Everest this day from Namche Bazaar. It was very special in memory. When I went to, of course, later saw it a lot more closer, it lost that special sense for me because I always like had this special memory there with seeing it for the first time. But going up to Kalapata, which was for me also a very big highlight, seeing Everest in the morning when the sun rises was a very big, also very beautiful picture. But as a memory, but also the experience just going up to the mountain was very hard. So the air was very thin, and this is only at like 5,500 meters. So climbing up to 8,000 meters is something that seems out of the world for me, especially for people like that did it without oxygen, like Reinhard Messner also. It was a very interesting experience seeing this embracing or experiencing this thin air. So for the first time.